Hello there, this is Beth with another Fraud's Fairy Oracle video, and this month is Penelope Dreamweaver. She's someone who's popped up in the past year for me quite often. She's a really cool card to work with. She deals with inspiration, magical dreams, and visions. And she's just magical dreams and very inspiring. When you work with her, that tends to be what comes up. You're very inspired. There's a lot going on. And that's the word I'm looking for. Inspirational. There's a lot of flow with her. There's a lot of energy behind her when she comes into your life, and especially when you experience her on a regular basis, when she's showing up over and over and over again. And that's one of the things I find, whether it's with oracle cards or tarot, you're going to have themes that show up, and when you have that happen, that's a really wonderful time to figure out, how does this card work in my life? How do I work with this card? How do I want to work with the card, and how do I want it to appear? Something like inspiration, magical dreams, and visions is pretty okay just right there. Some other things, like death or something like that, can be more challenging. How does that enter in, and how are you going to interact with the change that's happening in your life? Especially if you're like, I don't want to change, or you're afraid to change. Which often is what is behind I don't want to change, is fear and being afraid of it. But she does have some things that, if you're blocking her, can be an issue, but we'll go into those in just a little bit. So, inspiration, magical dreams, and visions. What more can you want out of a fairy card? And if I remember correctly in the book, Jessica, the lady who wrote that's Jessica, right? Yes, Jessica, who wrote the book for the Fraud's Fairies Oracle, the original one. This is Brian's inspiration fairy. Jessica's is Grace. You can have, whether you have a personalized fairy or not, you can work with this one. If you want to bring that energy into your life, pull up Penelope Dreamweaver and set her out on your altar. Set her out where you can see her all the time. So, she's an inspiration fairy. First and foremost, she is here to inspire you and help you breathe life into what you want to create. One thing with inspiration fairies, if you ignore them, they get kind of bored, and they'll start kind of creating inspiration challenges for you. So pay attention to any kind of inspiration fairy, whether it's Penelope or your personal one, showing up in your life. Like all fairies, when you ignore them, they kind of start to think of crazy things to do for you. And she's going to find a way to get your attention somehow. So look at what she's bringing you. As with any fairy or spiritual work, being aware and present is going to take you farther than just being like, yeah, I'm going to bring in this energy, and then ignoring what it's telling you to do. Like most artists, I know, don't tell you to wait for inspiration to come. They don't tell you to wait for someone like Penelope or Grace to come and inspire you. They'll tell you to create. Create as much as you can. Always be creating. Every day. As much as possible. You want to be a good painter. You want to do faces. Do as many as you can. Paint all the time. As much as you can. Every chance you get. Like, I knew that Tuesday and 2 days this week are probably going to be not very productive for painting. So I made sure I painted on Monday. Practiced my inspiration. I didn't wait for her or Grace or whomever to show up and inspire me. I create it every time I sit down to paint. I create it every time I start to create something. And the more you create, the more inspiration you have. It doesn't have to be art. It can be anything. Being inspired will help you think out of the box. It will help you make leaps in mental agilities that you're like, oh, that would be cool. But how'd you get from here to here? You just took that inspirational leap because you've been practicing creating, of thinking of different ways of creating, of practicing it. Practice, practice, practice. Create to create is really how you get inspiration when it comes down to it. She just doesn't come hit you in the head with that glowing ball. She expects you to participate with her. You're also, too, one thing with her, intuitive hits when you're doing something completely random. Yeah, like those times you're in the shower is where I tend to get mine. When I'm in the shower. Do it just thinking, listening to my music, singing along, washing my hair, and I'm like, bam, there it is. I pay attention. It's really annoying because you're in the shower and you can't write on anything in the shower. So you can always write it down. If you're like doing the dishes, it's a little easier to dry off your hands and go scribble, scribble. You pay attention to those times, like the shower, doing dishes, vacuuming, times when usually a lot of those times are when you're not trying to think, oh, okay, I'm so inspired. I could have great thoughts. You're like, yeah, I'm doing the dishes. This is really, you know how that is. You're kind of there, but you're dissociated from doing the dishes or whatever. You're thinking about something completely else and not what you're trying to create or what the problem is or any of that kind of stuff. And then bam, there it is. Unsought inspiration is a big one with her, but usually that really comes when you've been actively participating in inspiration and creation already. She's total fun. Some cards can have more of a whack, whack, whack if you ignore them. And she's not so much of a whacker. Like, oh, that gnome's just going to trip you if you completely ignore him. You're like, I didn't do it. It was that root. Yeah. Put a root in your way. Mm-hmm. She's not going to do that. But you won't get those hits when you're doing the dishes, though. So remember that. Presence, aware, and sometimes, too, when you're just spacing out is when those really big ideas have room to move in. Because you're not thinking. You're not overthinking it. Overthinking will also kill inspiration. Do not overthink. Most of the time when I start overthinking, especially like if I'm working in a painting, well, actually anything, I set it aside. I step away from it for at least an hour, if not longer, maybe a couple days, sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks, month. I was working on a painting and I was getting obsessed about the nose and the face, and it wasn't looking right how I wanted it. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't there, and I had to put it away. I had to set it aside to save it. I had to set it aside so it could be inspiring again when I came back to it after doing different pieces. So it can be a process too. It doesn't always drop in your lap fully formed. Sometimes you have to walk away from your original inspiration to come back and be re-inspired by it. So what happens when this is blocked, when you block off Penelope Dreamweaver, what happens to you? Usually when you're blocking her off, you're trying too hard. You're denying possibilities. Or you're just whining because it's just not fair, or it's not working. You know how you get into, it's just not fair. Why is everyone else able to create so easily? Why is everyone else? Yeah. So you gotta have a good whine. Get a little winch whine and then move on. And trying too hard can be a huge one. I'm guilty of just keep going when you know you should stop, and you're sad a lot of times when you don't. When you're trying to force it so hard because you want it that badly, you need to back off, because that starts to shut things down. It gets in the way of things. You trip over it. Go on and have some fun. Fantasize about things to get your energy going and bring Penelope and inspiration back in. Go look at some, in my case, some art books, or go read, watch some TV, vegetate for a while. And if you find yourself in the whining mode, take some action steps. So it's unfair. How can you make it be more fair? You don't like how it's turning out. How can you change it? What can you do? Inspiration really enjoys action, and the more you can act and bring in inspiration, the more you're going to be inspired. So if you get Penelope coming in your life, really just bring in that inspiration hardcore. Let her in. She is total blast. She's going to be fun. She's not going to kick your bum or anything. So get inspired with Penelope and see what happens. It always feels weird saying Penelope because we have a cat named Penelope. So that was like what makes me think of it. And actually, the cat Penelope is very much a cat of action. She's not stagnant. She's not trying too hard. She's just tumbling along, doing crazy kitty things. And she does literally tumble. She does somersaults. So Penelope Dreamweaver, weave your dreams. Let them open. Be inspired and let yourself be creative. And remember, creative is anything. How can you live your life creatively to live the best life you want to live? How, if you're an artist, how can you create to get inspired? If you're someone in a job and you work on creating content or ideas, whatever, for your team, however it is that works for you, the more you're willing to bring in create, the more you're going to have inspiration, the more you'll have those leaps that you're like, oh yeah, bam. Doing the dishes, inspiration hits. So pay attention to those things and have some fun. And let her come on in. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next month with another Fraud's card. And go out there and be the love in the world. Bye-bye.